In the name of God, who made diamonds and gas as abundant as flowers in the earth's crust and being constantly regenerated. So from January 2024 to April 2024, Netanyahu or Satanyahu's army is at a standstill, a general standstill from operations around Gaza. He does an airstrike on January 2nd. Netanyahu's army does an airstrike on Beirut, Lebanon, to kill Hamas commander Saleh al-Aruri. January 7th, Hezbollah fire 40 rockets at a military base in Israel. Netanyahu's army tanks encircle Deir al-Balah city in central Gaza and Nuseirat city refugee camp. And it's day 100. Tanks encircle all the cities of Gaza. They're holding their place for many months. We don't see any major airstrikes in the night like the hundreds that we would see nightly in October, November, December. And there's protests in Israel all throughout the spring demanding Netanyahu resign from his office and demanding the end to the war in Gaza. So 3 months pass and it's April 1. Israelis airstrike Damascus and kills the Iranian commander Mohammad Reza al-Zahidi. He's been a brigadier general he's been a commander of Iran's army since he was 20 years old. And he is Iran's commander-in-control of Hezbollah. April 10, Netanyahu's army does airstrikes killing some children of Ismail Haniyeh, a leader of Hamas. April 13, Hezbollah begins to fire hundreds of rockets over the border of Lebanon. Israelis get on the news and they say they think they will be attacked today with a big secret plan from Iran, that they think that they will see a wave of drones, some cruise missiles, and some anti-satellite missiles. And they said that they have a defense plan for this and that they would be using their international coalition to help them. In the afternoon of April 13, over hundreds of drones loaded with bombs are sent from the highlands in central Iran, just east of Baghdad. So this is the Tigris and the Euphrates River, and they connect here at the biggest city in this area. It's Baghdad. It's more than 9 million people. And just east of it is the highlands. So Baghdad is in the riverlands, and just east of it is a higher land. And these highlands are controlled by another very big city, the biggest, most influential and powerful economic city in the area, Tehran, with more than 15 million people, with mountains of iron and seas of gas, everything he needs for power. And because of that base, they control the mountains here overlooking Baghdad, and this is where they fire from here, and they fired out towards the shore here. They sent the drone waves, the cruise missile waves, and finally the anti-satellite ballistic missiles. They sent Shahed 136 and 238 suicide drones. They collide with the target and explode. And several hours later, they sent 30 cruise missiles, and cruise missiles travel 2,000 kilometers an hour. They're as big as trees. They were intercepted in this area before they reached to Israel, using the help of the international coalition to stop these drones and missiles. And so by the evening time, the waves of drones and cruise missiles are at the borderlands, and they are intercepted before reaching past the Sea of Galilee. But on April 14th at 2 a.m., 120 anti-satellite missiles were sent. Most of the missiles were stopped at a high altitude. They were stopped before they came near to the city, and at least 50 of them, almost half of them, did reach the skyline over Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. And the video evidence shows that they were intercepted over the city sky and pulverized into fireworks display with no large strike downs. That from all of these anti-satellite missiles, 2 did reach their detonation and were not intercepted, and these 2 hit an airbase, which would have been heavily defended airbase with all of the devices needed for defense, but they were not able to stop these 2 anti-satellite missiles and did sustain hit. So this anti-satellite missile and this drone wave included, this is the biggest firepower that you've ever seen in attack and in modern history. This is the biggest satellite missile assault known to man, and it is shrouded in secrecy and in top secrecy. And we will analyze the evidence and the details of it in depth in a part of the series when we discuss the next and now the record holder largest anti-satellite ballistic missile attack known to man, 181 missiles, anti-satellite missiles, and that occurred on October 1st of 2024. We'll discuss that in a separate part of the series. Ten days later, on April 25, Hamas released a video of prisoners of war captured on October 7th in Israel. And the purpose of that video release was to help everyone to remember with full conscience that the prisoners of war are still alive. They are not dead. And they are here besieged with all of the other people by Netanyahu and Genocide Joe out here on the grasslands and along the beachside in tents. 23-year-old Hirsch Goldberg says in a video recording that was released that everyone's dying of hunger. They're hungry. The lack of food and the bombing, it's becoming so hard on the people that he doesn't know how much longer he can live or anyone can live like this. And to please help bring him home. The Israeli people see this and they do attempt massive protests against Netanyahu and trying to demand the end of the war in Gaza. May of 2024. May 6, Netanyahu orders the evacuation of Rafah city, where more than 1 million people who are refugee of Gaza have run to. Gaza is 2 million people, and now more than 1 million of them have left the north and traveled down to this area. And Many of them are here inside and around the city of Rafah at the border. They are told on May 6th to evacuate and to go east onto the grass and to the sand. Many having no tents. Immediately, he starts airstrikes on Rafah overnight. After 5 days, the streets of Rafah are empty. 100,000 had evacuated. On May 14th, 500,000 people have evacuated this area around Rafah City. May 18th, 800,000 people have evacuated the area of Rafah. May 24th, 900,000 people have evacuated Rafah. May 28th, more than 1 million people have evacuated Rafah and gone west to the grass. Netanyahu's army tanks encircle the city of Rafah. There are still 65,000 people trapped in here, probably not able to move because they are hurt from all of these airstrikes. Quadcopters, drones patrol the streets and kill anyone in the streets. All of the people of Gaza had run from their homes, and they had taken refuge here in Rafah and the outskirts. And in these 2 months of May, after under bombardment, they have moved out into the beachside. They have no food, no water, no tents. Hundreds of thousands have no tents. And at the end of this month of May, half of the 60,000 people who stayed in Rafah will be declared killed. They will be counted as dead, counted as killed. So this is genocide. During this month of May, and May 19th, the president of Iran is with his foreign minister, and they fly into the side of a mountain and die. May 23, Hamas released, this is in the time of this major evacuation, Hamas had released a video of prisoners of war to remind the people that there are prisoners of war, more than 100, still here with the refugees, hidden among the refugees. In that video, it had shown the some of the girls that were soldiers at the Nahal Oz intelligence base. So this reminds the families of the girls who are alive, and anyone would wish that they were home. Everyone always wishes for the prisoners of war to come home. Netanyahu's army goes door to door in Rafah City, and no one's home because they evacuated. They find prisoners of war killed there, and they don't say how they died, but they never said that it was Hamas. In May 25, Netanyahu's army used drones in Homs, Syria to kill some Hezbollah in Syria. And May 25, he does airstrikes in South Rafah, killing 50 people at once, and he said that there was 2 Hamas commanders there. June 7th, Netanyahu's army does airstrikes on Aleppo, Syria, and said that they killed dozens of Hezbollah. June 8th, in Khan Yunis, Gaza, Netanyahu's army finds the bodies of prisoners of war, 3 old men from near Oz kibbutz that sold the land back in 1948, and they are now in the rubble of Khan Yunis, where Netanyahu's army is destroying, demolishing. July 13th, Netanyahu's army airstrikes El Mawasi camp in the safe zone outside of Rafah, and they kill 100 people and they hurt 300, they send 8 bombs weighing 2,000 pounds out here to where all of the people of Palestine had evacuated to, and now they're getting airstrikes here, right in this safe zone. And Netanyahu claiming that there's a commander there, Mohammed Diaf, killing 100 people in one moment with 8 bombs. Hezbollah sends 200 rockets across the border. And on July 20th, Netanyahu's army strikes Hodeidah port in Yemen. It's the heart of Yemen's gas supply and electrical grid. It provides the energy resources for all of the major cities of Yemen. It's the backbone. July 31st, Netanyahu's army does 3 major airstrikes overnight. Airstrikes in Tehran kill Ismail Haniyeh and demolish half of an 8-level structure. Airstrikes in Beirut kill Fuad Shakur, the commander of Hezbollah's missile program. Airstrikes in Damascus kill Amir Ali Hajizadeh, Iran's aerospace commander. Only later he is found smiling on October 1st when 181 ballistic missiles are striking. August of 2024. August is day 300 of the attacks on Gaza. Netanyahu's army demolishes infrastructure along the border of Gaza and Egypt at the Rafah border crossing. August 25, Netanyahu's army does 200 airstrikes in Lebanon using 100 aircraft all in one moment, trying to hit all of these targets where they say that they were missile launchers for a prepared strike. So Netanyahu has a massive air attack here at the border of Lebanon and striking out all across this border here of Lebanon, saying that he found some secret rocket launchers there. And 2 days later, Netanyahu takes all of his tanks over here to Jenin. The last city on the highway north and on the border of the West Bank, and Israel here. Here's the West Bank, and here's Israel, and here's the Lebanese border. So here is Jenin, and there's the highway. So he comes into Jenin, which is Palestinian territory. It's the West Bank. And he demolishes all of the roadways, does raids and kills many people, and then withdraws after a week's time. They raid the refugee camp. Helicopters shoot anyone in the streets. Airstrikes are happening overnight. August 29th, Netanyahu is airstriking a masjid and said that there was a leader of Palestinian Islamic Jihad there, and the next day he hits another masjid and says there's more leaders in that one, in the other masjid, using airstrikes. And Tel Aviv has a massive protest with 500,000 people saying they want Netanyahu out of office and stop the war on Gaza. But September 5, there is Netanyahu's army is still focused on demolishing and attacks here at the border of Rafah. He finds more prisoners of war inside of tunnels, and he airstrikes Al Mawasi camp again, where all the people, it's a safe zone where everyone is evacuated to, and he uses 4 missiles and he kills 20 people or more in one moment. September 16th, Houthis in Yemen launch a cruise missile and it's intercepted. And the next day is the grand plan. Netanyahu's army does Operation Exploding Pager, which is to remote using cyber attack on the radio wavelength to simultaneously detonate 4,000 pagers, and these pagers had to be on in order to explode. Out of the 4,000 that were sent the codes, 3,000 exploded, and out of those 1,000 Hamas were hurt. So the other more than 1,000 were not Hamas people that were hit with those pagers. And we'll try to talk more in depth about the sophisticated technological warfare that are occurring, such as those anti-ballistic missiles and these cyber attacks in further parts of the series. They used advanced remote technology to cripple the communication networks in Beirut and south of Beirut, in southern Lebanon cities in Bekaa Valley. 3:30 in the afternoon, a message was sent to the pager, and just a couple of seconds later, each of them exploded. 500 people were blinded in one or both eyes. 25 were killed. The next day, radios exploded in another cyber attack, killing even more people. More than 30 were killed. 500 were wounded. September 19th, Netanyahu's army does 100 airstrikes in South Lebanon overnight in this area. September 20th, Netanyahu airstrikes Beirut with 4 5,000-pound missiles, claiming to have killed the Hezbollah commander Ibrahim Akil. "50 people are killed in one moment. More than 100 are hurt." September 21. Netanyahu's army does more than 100 airstrikes in 1 hour between 2 and 3 in the afternoon. And they said that they were trying to destroy rocket launchers in Lebanon. September 22, Hezbollah fires 150 rockets at Israel. Iraq launches drone and missiles towards Israel. Israelis say that 60% of Israel has left the country. So Israel is a country of, this is the area here, Israel. It's a country of around 10 million people, and the biggest cities are only 500,000 people. They're Jerusalem and Tel Aviv. That's the extent of their power. They're not very, they don't have any big economic force here. So he says that 60%, they said themselves, 60% of Israel is left the country. And this is September, last month. And that means that there's only like 3 million people left in all of Israel. That's what he is working with. Heavily dependent on technology and remote warfare. Remote drones, AI systems for targeting, and cyber attacks. The only thing he's missing is remote control tanks. September 23, a methane leak in a coal mine in Iran caused an explosion. It kills 50. It traps more. They're probably also dead now. It's the Tabas mine in Iran. It supplies the steel mills for Iran. Netanyahu's army carries out massive airstrike campaigns in South Lebanon all day. More than 1,000 airstrikes in one day on September 23rd. September 24th, Hezbollah launches 200 rockets over the border. September 25, Netanyahu's army airstrikes Lebanon 300 times. Hezbollah fires a ballistic missile at Israel for the first time. Hezbollah launches 50 rockets throughout the day at North Israel. September 27th, Netanyahu's army airstrikes Dahia suburb of Beirut with 10 missiles and demolished nearly 20 structures, and says the Hezbollah leader is killed, Hassan Nasrallah. September 30th, airstrikes killing dozens of Hezbollah leaders, focusing on South Beirut city and all of the small towns of south of Beirut. So all of these small areas here on the borderlands are being, in the words of the Israelis, demolished with airstrikes. 1,000 people of Lebanon have been killed, 6,000 and wounded just in South Lebanon over just the past 10 days. And Netanyahu's army is amassing at Kiryat Shimona, which is a small city here at the north near the border. There's constant artillery and raids all throughout South Lebanon, and they are attempting to control all of this south borderlands. They've crossed the border and they're occupying. So, October 1, Iran strikes Israel using 181 anti-satellite missiles from South Shiraz missile base. In 5 waves, they needed 12 minutes to reach the destination. They hit the Nevatim Air Base in Negev Desert, South Israel, near the city of Beersheba. Hit Tel Noaf Air Base near Revat in central Israel, and Hatzor Base. It appears that all of the anti-satellite missiles reached the city, and only maybe a couple of handfuls of them were disintegrated over the city by interceptor or by a laser beam. And we will, in the series, do an analysis of the anti-satellite missile attack and analyze all of the documentation of it to analyze the strike. October 2 in Beirut, Lebanon's all of South Beirut, Lebanon, a city of 3 million people, is told to evacuate. And they are immediately bombed in the first days as they have been being bombed, but then there's heavy airstrikes. Netanyahu says that the airstrikes on Beirut are being supplied from offshore, that they have warships offshore, and that they are doing the airstrikes from offshore into Beirut city. And Netanyahu airstrikes Damascus, to kill the son-in-law of Nasrallah. And this brings us up to date now, where they have admittedly demolished all of the small towns inside Lebanon to stop the people of Lebanon to never come home. They said they don't want them to never come home, and so therefore have demolished these towns here in Lebanon in the south. And they have, at this first week of October where we stand now, disabled the airport, which is the major airport of Lebanon, and it's in south, it's in the Beirut city at the south. We'll discuss, or we will continue to discuss the timeline for the attacks, the genocide of Palestine, and to analyze all of these super technologies in warfare. Allahu Akbar.